Being a programmer, particularly in the games industry, is about finding creative solutions to represent sort of real-world things within a game engine.
We started off with Unity, with Little Orpheus, and as a studio we decided we wanted to use Unreal for the next project. So we all had to learn this new engine, and it was really surprisingly easy. They clearly use their own tools to make a game, and they know what they're doing. So a lot of the times when you come to having to solve a problem, the tools that you need is already there waiting for you. You know, you might need to change little bits here and there. We have a source code available, so we can just go and have a look and we can modify things if we want. Not that we do that, we try not to change the engine too much, but it's there for us to read and understand. So it makes it really, really easy. You're on an oil rig, and the oil rig's in the middle of the North Sea. You have to survive on the rig by getting away from things, but you also have to survive the water.
We've used Niagara extensively for this project, so everything to do with the water is using Niagara. Niagara is a particle effect system made by Epic, but it's kind of quite open-ended, and it allows you to do quite complex computations using textures.
So water and games in general, at least the ones I've seen, they all look like they're swimming pools. They're nice and clear, or they're in the Caribbean somewhere, it looks really lovely, and you've got these really nice waves. We didn't want that. We wanted water that scares you, we wanted water that is dirty, bodies floating in it, cigarette butts floating in it. We wanted it to be really unappealing and cold. So that was quite a challenge. You know, when the art team sent us the mood board of all of the pictures on, it was quite challenging when you look at those pictures. It's like, how are we going to do this?
Water started off being really simple, you know, it was essentially a cube with a flat surface. You know, that got us so far in terms of developing the gameplay, but we really needed to make the water feel alive, and so sort of secondary simulations came on top of that.
When you look at the sea, you basically have little waves going on the top, caused by the wind, but then you get also this sort of feeling of swelling that you get in the ocean. So there's a slow movement of really big, massive, you know, waves. And that swell is, you know, very nicely represented by Gerstner waves.
Gerstner waves are sort of rolling sine waves. You can combine them, sum them together, you know, manipulate them to go in different directions, and the combination of that gives you quite a nice effect. And so we've done that on our interior water in order to give it more life, and then on the ocean side we're using it, like Louis said, to create that big swell. When you're on the underrig and you're looking at the legs, you feel the ocean rising.
And then we've got gameplay water. Water that is in smaller confined spaces, that can be interactive, so you can swim in it, you can drown in it. We wanted it to be scary, we wanted it to be dark, and we wanted you to feel sometimes that you don't have control over what exactly is happening, but just enough so you stay engaged.
You're not just sort of swimming on the surface and paddling around, you're sort of delving into the depths of the rig and looking for the way out and to escape a flooding room.
Kaz is not going to close his eyes. So how does that look? How do you make it feel like you're really in there? And that's also a challenge, because the water is just this thin layer of surface that we're rendering, and everything else is just smoke and mirrors underneath. So you dive in, and then there's bubbles everywhere, and then suddenly this current pushes you along, and you have to grab onto things. So we also have underwater traversal, where you grab onto things to help you to go against the current to get through. How does the player know there's a current going there, and I'm going to have to go against it? You know, how do you visualize and see that?
Using particle systems, again, we're going to come back to Niagara.
We have the spline that you put through the level where the current flows, and then the bubbles follow that.
And for the splashing, for the ocean waves, we need to add a lot of particles and VFX on top of that.
So we call it the pinch of the wave, the crest. You calculate your derivatives of the wave, and when they get to a certain end, you essentially know that there's a crest there, and then you spawn some particles. We also create foam that sort of floats on top of the surface. So it's all maths, really.
It's all maths.
It is all maths.